Hello, I'm Madhav Menon.
Hello everyone, I'm Devanshu Devanda.
Hello everyone, I'm Abhishek.
Hello everyone, my name is Amit Chalish.
And I'm Ranjit.
Hello, I'm Orpodito.
So today, me and my group, group number three, will be discussing about our topic, understanding the effect of income and level of awareness on the adoption of micronutrient-based fertilizers, specifically zinc, boron, and sulfur. So Abhishek, do you want to go ahead with the what about what you think about the topic?
Okay, all right. So we have selected this topic for discussing the micronutrients deficiencies in the farmers' crop. With the research studies, we have found that farmers are focusing more on the nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium (NPK) fertilizers rather than focusing on the micronutrients deficient fertilizers like containing zinc, boron, and sulfur. Mm. So
So what do you guys think about this topic?
Basically, this topic is about understanding how much usage, what is the exact usage pattern, how much people are using the specific micronutrients. Those could be different micronutrients containing zinc or boron or in combination. And I can establish some sort of correlation between that and the income level.
and the variables that we have taken, awareness and
At the same time, yeah.
Also, the focus on micronutrient is quite essential because majorly the focus is on macronutrients like NPK,
NPK
like as told by Abhishek. But understanding the usage of micronutrients is very important for crop yields, productivity, and fertilizer usage in the micronutrients is basically for the long-term productivity of the crop. So we need to
It's also an indicator of soil health.
yeah. So
And also, you also want to know what is the level of awareness regarding that. Because as you said, NPK people are largely very aware
yes,
of
Argo.
fertilizers, but not so much.
Yeah. Yeah, great point. And I also believe that the variables we are targeting, the income level and the awareness would actually help other for companies and help them to decide which basic factors they should target for better marketing of the micronutrient products that they will bring to the market and for an overall better sustainable farming practice.
Yes, there's that aspect to this study, but I think there is a very social aspect to this study as well, because the way we are going right now, the agricultural aspect, the agricultural sector of India, might run into a standstill in the coming maybe 5-10 years because of the way people are farming, right? So I think we as students of agribusiness management, especially, while we need our markets to be sustained, at the same time, we need those people who are farming, who are at the producer level, to make goods fresh and healthy, basically healthy food for everybody.
Yeah. So add on to the point that you said, the food security and
Yeah.
food security, which is very required for any country, whichever there is. It is very essential for India to maintain in the upcoming years. And fertilizers, insecticide, pesticides play a crucial role in that. So these fertilizers will be looking. So our dilemma, the core crux of the problem was, crux of taking this project was that we wanted to solve a problem. And our problem was the underlying food security. And upper problem is that we are the food security that is being, that is being impacted by the fertilizer. So the kind of fertilizers that we use. Yeah.
I'll like to lay some groundwork into this. So when we talk about food security and things like that, there's a concept called nutrition dilution.
Okay.
So an orange that you will buy in the market, probably in 1970s and 80s, it had around 7 times vitamin C content than the orange that is present right now in the market. And as Abhishek said, we think about the inputs,
Right.
fertilizers and pesticides. One of those inputs is micronutrition.
Uh-huh.
How micronutrition basically affects
So
soil.
it's sort of like nutrition dilution is sort of like the opposite of bioaccumulation.
Uh, yes, basically you are growing same crop over and over and over,
Yeah.
and so the soil, the level of micronutrition in the soil gets depleted over the years.
So the basic
And there are two things here. Like when we talk about food, it's about quantity and quality
Right.
of the produce. So quantity reduces because the growth factors that are required for plants to grow, those are PGRs. they need certain level of those specific micronutrients, which works as some sort of cofactors and cofactors for certain enzymes
Right.
that basically promote growth.
Okay.
That basically form the PGRs, plant growth regulators.
Oh.
And those regulators are basically your auxins and gibberellins.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Those help in the growth of plants. And if those growth factors are not there, it will first of all affect the quantity, and then it will also affect the quality. Like I said, the vitamin C content in the soil.
So Amit, what do you think about this?
So what I think is basically this thing is going on from a very long time.
Right.
Starting from the green revolution itself, there was a very high surge in the use of fertilizers and especially in the macronutrients.
Yeah.
The reason of not using micronutrients is that there is some awareness gap leading because of the point that there is a theory, law of minimum, which states that certain nutrients are required for plants to grow, and if even if the one of the nutrients is missing, the plant will be stunned.
Right.
The growth, the leaf growth, the fruit growth, the root growth, each and every part of the plant requires certain different nutrients that needs to be taken care by the farmers. It is not the reason that using just urea will help them grow their plants. It is not even sustainable for the soil as well. The reason being there is toxicity of each nutrient, whether it is let it be nitrogen. If we put a lot of nitrogen in the soil, there is a loss in terms of nitrogen leaching in the soil as well as in the water bodies as well. So we also need to keep in mind the environmental aspects of this also.
So basically, a balance is like balance.
So our
If I may add that yeah, the social aspects are covered by my treatments. I would also like to add about the strict aspect that there are existing products of zinc and sulfur supplements from certain sets, Rwanda and Dodo International. That this project and the subsequent primary research that we could carry on would actually help us understand what are the current pain points that farmers are facing with these products. Is it relating to the price point or the accessibility or just the general lack of awareness which the companies and the government and the NGOs should act on in tandem to address this trend?
Yes. Yeah. You're right.
So, yeah, adding on to what Ranjit was telling about the benefits of studying micronutrients. So we should also focus on like why particularly we have selected zinc, boron, and sulfur.
Right.
So, like as you said that vitamin C deficiency earlier, the orange that was sold had around 7 times more vitamin C content. So, like zinc is also very rich in enzyme growth and enzyme.
Zinc is basically needed for those enzymes to
Yeah.
act as a buffer.
Yeah, and boron, talking about the boron, it is well, like highly potent in cell wall formation and the stability, soil stability. Well, on the other hand,
Sulfur is needed for the
amino acids and protein content. So these are like really important in studying what type of crop we are growing and how much.
Also, I forgot to mention that the use of HYV seed varieties.
Right. Right.
When we use those sort of varieties, what they do is they kind of produce more fruiting bodies. Plants tend to produce more fruiting bodies.
Correct.
So the overall the concentration of those vitamins and minerals will be low.
Right.
Right.
So I think we have discussed the need of the study well, but I think we need to focus a bit more on the management objectives and the management problem in this study. I would like to start by saying again, as we had mentioned earlier, that we need farmers to buy this product. So let's talk about the aspects that the companies will know better about once we are finished with this study, and how that will help them sell their product better to the farmers and of course lead to profit. So do you want to go?
Okay, so about the objective, yeah.
Yeah, so as Madhav was starting a discussion on the management problems and research gap. So while doing the secondary research, the research gap that we faced was that there are plenty of research materials regarding the micronutrient usage, which primarily focused on the effect of micronutrients on reproduction, on the crop yield and the soil health. But there was a lack of research material on the factors affecting the usage of this research on these micronutrients and the reason the farmers of the Indian subcontinent should averse towards using the micronutrient fertilizers. So I believe that our research can bridge this gap between the core agronomic principles and the business principles that we follow and help the industry.
Yeah, I believe to reach the full agronomic potential of the crop yields specifically, I don't think there is much awareness regarding micronutrition. Like even if you see the firms will rather fortify the foods that are coming from the produce than pushing these sort of things like creating more awareness about using the right sort of fertilizers. To farms.
Yeah, so, but do you think, I mean, yeah, I mean, I also want to study this. That, I mean, it's not a part of our study, of course, but do you think, like, when farmers will use these micronutrient-based fertilizers, do you think one of the aspects that can compel them to use these are that the produce that they'll make will sell at a higher price?
It has to be visible.
Yeah, it has.
It is a visible difference, but the problem is now, like for one season, 2 season, for a couple of years, you will probably use NPK fertilizer.
Yeah.
You know, you will see the yields are increasing, but the
For a long term,
micronutrition depletion you see only in the long run.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
And suddenly there will be a season that the crop yield is
Right.
very, very
There might be other factors affecting the crop yield as well, like climate which can be there, insect or overrun that can be there. So multiple factors can be there, and because of that, farmers can perceive.
And NPKs are,
Farmers
I
can
would say,
perceive
more associated with the quality than the quantity, but in the long run, it will affect the quantities.
Yeah, so
Not NPK, the micronutrients.
so farmers can basically perceive that even though we applied all the micronutrients, everything said by the researchers or said by the companies, but we could not get the accepted or expected yield. Right. So because of that, they also might be reluctant towards using gene governance.
Yeah, I think also we need to gauge what the income and like the topic of our study. Like I think we need to gauge the effect of income specifically, like how the fertilizer acts as a cost to the input cost to the farmer, as well as the level of awareness. Because I feel like there are many brackets of people who maybe some people know about these fertilizers, some people don't know how to use it exactly. And we have included that in our study. We'll discuss that later. Okay, but yeah. So I'll just finish my point in a second. But the main thing is we really need to know the level of awareness because otherwise, if a company targets a person without them actually knowing what the fertilizer is, I think that is completely wasted cost on the cost on acquiring that person. Yeah. So not just when you're talking about the economic aspect of this study, it's not just generating more revenue; it's also optimizing the cost you are putting to acquire new customers.
Yeah. So let us go on to the another topic again. That let's discuss the area and our scope of study. I think we are going to go to that only. So the areas that we are going to do our field study that are there for the field study related to this particular topic and the scope of our study.
Right.
Okay. So
I'll just interject here for a moment. Like when we talk about things like awareness is a very broad thing.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to gauge certain behaviors of farmers. Let's say I'm a farmer. And I'm using the normal NPK fertilizers.
Yes.
And I know that there is a fertilizer called the micronutrient fertilizer XYZ that is available in the market.
Right.
What will push me to use that fertilizer? Let's say for a season, I go and purchase NPK fertilizer, and I had a good yield last year, so I'll probably think like I will also use this, and I'll get more yield from my crop.
Right.
But the way how micronutrient fertilizers work is for that particular one season, it will increase the quality of the crop per se. But you will not see in the numbers like number of quintals of the produce you had. So as a farmer, you will think logically like it's a added benefit to honey. So let's stick to NPK only.
Yes.
Why should I only use this? And that behavior is about the short-term perception of the yields that they are getting.
So, like you are talking about that, are the farmers actually aware about the benefits of micro?
Benefits in the long run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but are they really aware about that? Such fertilizers who are having micronutrient content, do they exist? Like the first and foremost thing that
Like when we say farmers, na, like general level of awareness in the farmers is also very good. Like we have to also consider other aspects of the agri business, like what are the agri extension services, what are
Right.
agents present on the ground.
So,
Are they aware?
like the awareness in terms of benefits applications and
I think we are going on to the variables directly, income awareness. There might be other factors related to
Exactly. So if I may
studying
add
the.
on this,
Something should affect the adoption of those fertilizers.
There will be multiple. We'll discuss it first. We'll discuss it in the data part.
Orko, you had something to say?
yeah, so when Abhishek added a very interesting point about the climate that can affect the use of micronutrients. So obviously, it's beyond the scope of study. But I believe that as the existing research papers mostly indicate a lack of micronutrient use in the Indo-Gangetic plain, so there has to be a study conducted in the future that can precisely concentrate on the economic, the soil type, and the pattern of rice cultivation and the needs of rice grown in these areas, which can have some impact on the macronutrient. Obviously, it's out of the scope of study because we only will be studying a limited amount of farmers in a single village. But that can be scope for any further research study.
Any further?
So, Amit, what do you think about what area we are studying in? The scope, the entire scope of the study.
Currently, the of all the crops we have selected rice. So, what kind of areas do you think we should go into?
So basically, rice is grown in two types of areas, highland and lowland.
Right.
We have for this time concentrated on the lowland areas of the rice. The reason being, we have chosen rice in this season because it is the first of all it is the growing season. Second, rice it has the most requirement of zinc while its cultivation.
Right.
The reason being its high productivity needs that is directly linked to the food security and output of the farmer.
Sustainable agriculture.
It is also sustainable. Another point I would like to mention is that the farmer who is using zinc will, in the short run, it is known that the benefits are proven in the short run.
Right.
It is visible. So one of our micronutrients is basically sorted in this matter. We will need to look out for the boron and sulfur nutrients in the micronutrients.
So, one scope of study was the area highland or lowland. So we have selected Indo-Gangetic. Right. Another area was selecting. Another scope was selecting the crop.
Right.
So we have selected. We have jotted down to the rice crop.
So it is one of those micronutrients. Yeah, like you can directly visibly see that there is a
Yes.
deficiency. The yellowing of the leaves happens.
It has direct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that farmers perceive the effect of these micronutrients is not by the effect of them on the crops in the long run, but rather they are very perceptive about the absence of those micronutrients in the shorter run. We will be talking like there might be some kind of deficiency diseases that occur. So right
In the
now,
short run, there are
yeah.
things like specifically the grain size and the quantity.
Yeah, the deficiency diseases are really very perceivable, right? So I think even when we are talking about these fertilizers, micronutrient fertilizers, right, we need to focus more about on the absence of what will happen when there is an absence of such fertilizers, rather than focusing on the more long term effect, because that is an important part. But at the same
There is
time,
a quality part to it, and there is also sustainability part to it.
Yeah.
But for farmers, the most important thing will be the overall yield from the.
yeah, exactly.
Finally, first, right. So we have come down to 6 scopes, right? And we have taken 4 of those scopes. Out of those scopes, 4 of them are in our research proposal. Okay, so we had selected a range of topics for our study, and we had narrowed down to 4 of those. First scope was adoption rate, awareness level, influencing factor, and stakeholders.
Right.
So these will be our scope finals. Next, we are going to talk about
The data.
methods of data collection. Basically, then we'll be going on to the data.
I think this is the crux of any study. I would mention.
Yeah.
The methodology determines what the results actually are at the end, and everything prior to it is very important, but at the same time, it's more of a background to the entire stuff. So, now again, data collection. When we are talking about we are going to Bhopal, I think, right?
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. So we need to primarily interact with those farmers to understand the conditions.
Can I just put a question out there? Why are we directly going to farmers? Why couldn't we have using the secondary data, the records, the research studies that we have? Why couldn't we have?
We can go to distributors in the area.
No. I'm saying why are we going directly? Why are we using the primary study
For
or primary data rather than the secondary ones that we have available already?
we can use both.
But
What we
like
can do is first we can study
The
on the
reason for
secondary one.
the reason for it being it isn't the recency thing.
yeah.
Right.
It's we get to know what the actual condition at the field is.
On the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then only we'll get to know from the farmer's point of view that
And also, yeah, no, yeah, you continue, like, but I'll put my point in a second.
methods में तो
Yeah,
For secondary, we can download that PGR data.
so we can switch a little bit between English and Hindi. So
hey, of course, there is this point, but like, then again, when we are talking about level of awareness, we cannot actually capture that through secondary data. Primary data ही चाहिए.
see that is the thing I wanted, like कि level of awareness वहाँ पे आ रहा है जो कि हम primary data से ही collect कर सकते हैं and not from the secondary data. Like that is why we need to go to the farmer's place,
Yeah.
go to the field. That is why we need the primary data. और उसके बाद हमारा दूसरा मेथड आता है हम क्वांटिटेटिव करने वाले हैं या क्वालिटेटिव करने वाले हैं आपको you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, because we are mostly emphasizing on the income and the awareness. Also, even in the income variable, it is difficult to quantify it from the secondary data. The reasons being that we don't have the usage of micronutrient data at the micro level, so it would be difficult to actually also establish the relationship between income and usage of secondary fertilizers solely from secondary data. So that's also a research gap that this can bridge for the
Perfectly said by Arpo. Here it will lead to spurious correlation, and that will lead us to the we are doing a study, but that will lead us to wrong correlation as well.
Wrong results. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you're talking about?
Quantitative and qualitative. What methods are we going to choose, or
We'll be focusing on the service only. We can
quantitative method or like qualitative?
both of them. We will collect.
क्वांटिटेटिव तो हमारा इनकम हो जाएगा.
हाँ, we'll collect quantitative data.
इनकम होगा, farmers की information होगी, उनके demographic information and all.
But even when we are talking about the qualitative data, when we are talking about a questionnaire, we'll be putting forward because we won't be making them fill out the questionnaires by themselves.
Yeah.
We will be the one recording the data. So of course, there will be a qualitative aspect to it. We will be asking them some questions just to build a reputation. We will be asking them some questions which are not exactly related to the questionnaire, just so that yeah,
To get acquainted.
yeah. Just to get acquainted and they can trust us to actually reveal their income. No?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is how participant observation works.
Yeah.
If you merge
Yeah.
with the culture of their community, then only they-
So I mean, both. Marco, please continue.
Yeah, just adding a line to that. Yeah, so as we are already needing information that are very, very sensitive, like the
Yeah.
personal information, and also I feel that there should be some building facility to like order of this information.
That's true. Devanshu, you think something?
Actually, I was thinking that if we are talking about the income and awareness levels, like talking about the questionnaire you were saying. So I think that the landholding size or the demographics will also add. So small landholding or large landholding based on those. So will that be also be an important factor in analyzing?
We cannot actually determine that right now, but yes, it's a very important factor
But
to consider.
it will be directly correlated with income also.
Yeah.
Large farmers they have more and probably more income to buy those fertilizers.
So that can be a byfactor of the income.
Yeah.
So like landholding
Yes,
size.
income is
basically a proxy for
will be
those
that
things.
proxy for those things because if higher the income, more will be the
More
disposable
we'll
income for
understand that they have the landholding size. And
But so landholding price, I think we should keep it as a control variable. Control variable. So, I mean, while we were making this proposal, I think we came up with certain variables which we changed later on, obviously.
Right.
But we ended up on income because it acted as a proxy for a lot of factors.
Lot of factors.
Lot of factors.
Landholding.
Like landholding size, what the farmer has been making, the yield of the farmer and what he's been making previously, as well as the actual cost it is to the farmer as an input. Micronutrient is what it is. I mean, because they are rarer, they are more
and
expensive.
it may also be correlated with the level of awareness.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Some amount of disposable income is required for that
Yeah.
because it is basically an additional input they are using.
Yeah. So, before we move on to the questionnaire, one question I would like to put onto the group is that do you think that workshops that the companies might have done till now might have affected this level of awareness?
Workshops, what kind of
Any kind of workshops regarding these
Extension workshop.
yeah, extension workshops and micronutrient. If any company is basically selling these kind of micronutrient based fertilizer, so do you think if they ever conducted a workshop that would result in increased sales for them?
Basically, information based marketing.
Yeah, information.
So,
Yes, I believe that I think if we exhibit the practical impact of a micronutrient, that it could actually enhance the usage by this farmer because it's a financial investment, and as farmers are generally discovers, and so it would be difficult to convince them to switch to micronutrients without actually showing them the result that they could get 2 3 years down the line. So I believe that workshops or experimental testing by farmers by big companies would go a long way in
Yeah, it's
getting.
experimental testing.
a little thing might be related here from the news, right? And the budget government has also they are going to put 1 lakh farmers in natural farming,
Okay.
and they are going to establish 10,000 bioinput center in all of the India's districts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ultimately, in future, we the government is also looking to narrow down on the natural farming, anything which is not affecting the soil, anything which is increasing the farmers crop yield and farmers income.
Yeah,
Right.
sustainability.
So our study is going towards that
Yeah,
only.
it's going in that.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Sustainability is a very important.
Sustainability plus increase,
Yeah.
especially oil seeds,
Yeah.
Right. And
leverage in oil seeds.
yield is not the only factor for the farmer. Farmer can obviously provide yield, but he needs income to sustain that yield in the
Yeah.
long term.
True.
Right.
True. Okay, so I think it's
So
we're
let's
good
go
to
down to
yeah.
the
We can move on to the questionnaire now. We're good to go, I guess. So, what do you think are first three questions? Of course, these
Of
need to
course.
be
demographic
reputational.
information is the
These need to be reputational questions. Like repo building questions. So, right, we will be new to the farm. We will be new to the farm, the village. So people might not really trust us in the beginning. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we should start with some questions that build rapport with them. You know, yeah, that we can capture farmer demographics through that, of course.
तो we should do that in Hindi. So चलो relatable होगा.
True.
Okay, so start करेंगे अगर हम उनके पास जा रहे हैं तो फर्स्टली वी शुड ट्राई टू कनेक्ट कैसी चल रही है आपकी खेती और अभी कौन सा क्रॉप लगाया है बिकॉज
हाँ,
मतलब जनरल इन्फॉर्मेशन
I
They are
believe we shouldn't go to farmers direct.
हाँ, पहले सरपंच
पहले like we will approach
किसी
certain
लीडर के
certain
पास
leaders.
विलेज लीडर के पास
We will understand what is the demography of this area, and
Yeah.
उसके बाद we can gauge कि what sort of
कहाँ से चालू
What sort of crops do they usually sow?
and specifically when can we talk to the farmer?
Yeah.
Yes, when is the comfort
जनरल
time for
इन्फॉर्मेशन जनरल इन्फॉर्मेशन
but it can't be कि सुबह तू 9-10 बजे जा रहा है and you want to
But anyways, we
we'll
are
hate you for that.
if at the end we are approaching the farmers, what are we going to talk to the farmers? That we need
Yeah,
to think
so
about because
I think
Yeah,
rapport
I
building
think
is
What
very
we
important.
need,
Arco as a
what we
contact.
need is a
But the
person
problem with the
who is
problem
from the
with
community. What we need is a person who is from the community.
Mhm.
Like if you are approaching Sarpanch,
Right.
he or she might send someone with us.
someone says
That will help us make the connect with the
We
farmers.
didn't need a guide to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arko, you were saying something.
Yeah, so I was basically adding to the point that if someone from high authority actually introduces us to the village or the our farmer sample size, so that would help us to create a rapport and an instant trust with them. Also, as I collect that the starting questions should be mostly opinion based and of general nature. Then we should proceed to more focused and fact based questions regarding his personal information. So that can I think lead.
So Arko, should questions like these should be
So
asked
starting
in government?
questions should be open-ended.
हाँ, open-ended questions like do you think government is thinking about the farmers these days? So these questions will build a rapport more than anything. You know, people always in India, people always have an opinion about government, about politics. So starting with these questions की क्या लगता है आपको कि सरकार आपके बारे में सोच रही है? कुछ जो भी कर रही है सरकार एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर में कुछ आपके बारे में सोच रही है ऐसा कुछ हो रहा है आपको ऐसा लग रहा है तो that will build a clear connection.
Yeah, some people
will get too much into it and that will help us to
Yeah,
understand.
absolutely.
Also, like we have
They will
to
actually
we have to be
take that-
careful about like if you build good rapport with people, there's a tendency that they will overstate the facts.
Overstate the fact, yes.
We also have to keep that in check.
Arko, but yeah, Arko, you're saying?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the same point basically. So as Abhishek was saying, so that if we go with open-ended question, the issue is that people also feel that their opinions are being heard, right? So then they will get involved in the entire process of question and
That's
question
four.
answer. And it won't
That's
be a one.
that's 4 5 minutes of conversation to start with.
No, it's probably 10 15 minutes to be.
And how do we randomize this? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we need to think about the sampling too at the same time because there will be a lot of farmers and we cannot actually take, we might end up getting the data from all the farmers at the end of the day, at the end of the field visit, at the end of the ninth or 10th day, probably. But at the same time, we need to actually prioritize what kind of farmers we
like,
need
do
to.
do we have a number in mind, like how many data points we have?
Not sure. Maybe, like, I don't know, like, it depends on the farm, it depends on the size of the village too.
So let's come down to the question
Yeah, let's
part.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, specific
So starting specific questions.
Yes.
So questions का topic पहला हमारा रहेगा demographic information.
Right.
जिसमें कि basic
Yeah,
है,
demographic
age,
and
education भी होगा.
open-ended questions. Yeah.
Age, education level might impact the
Awareness,
LOI.
awareness.
Uh, then the second topic that I have taken is farm details, like size of the farm. Okay, and the what type of rice do you grow? That's a fair enough.
Fair enough.
For the farmers. And stage of crop growth, like seeding कर रहे हैं, tilting कर
यार
रहे
उस
हैं.
टाइम पे तो सब लोग ऑलमोस्ट सेम एज पे होंगे मतलब जनरली
हाँ, कुछ
yeah,
कुछ थोड़े
that's more of a constant. I mean, it
Everyone
can
will
be
be at the same stage.
हाँ everyone will probably be at the same thing.
हाँ, तो मतलब स्टेज को तो हम छोड़ सकते हैं.
Number of pump
Let's
sets they
discuss
have.
about the questions.
Yeah,
Like, how will you gauge the level of education?
yeah, level of education. हाँ मतलब कि what is I think the best
But I
question would
believe
be
the best idea is the highest level of education in the family.
family
Yeah.
or the decision.
And
Yeah,
the exception will
that
be
person-
like
but-
if the son is higher, more educated, but the son is not currently living in the village with the family,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we will exclude that.
He will not be the dominant person to talk
He will
about.
not be
Yeah, the primary decision
he
maker.
is primary decision maker.
Primary decision maker will not be.
I mean, I think we can go up to the people who are affecting the primary decision maker, but anything apart from that in the family, I don't think.
Mainly in
Like,
village area,
I think we can.
I think in villages also primary decision makers are not per se the farmers.
That's what I'm saying. Like even if the farmer ka son is educated and he's in the village, that is affecting him. But
Those,
other
those
prime,
will be some sort of influential people or influential groups in the village.
Huh.
Right.
The servants.
Huh.
Those people
Yeah.
will have more say.
So, like Ranjit has a very good point that we need to find the opinion leaders who are there, who are trying to who can influence the decisions of the farmers that are.
Which is probably a better indicator of the awareness.
Yeah.
it's true. I think we also need to capture, as you guys said, out the opinion leader, the immediate people, the immediate educated people. They are, attached or in workings with. So we can ask. So maybe Anganwadi workers also, where they are going to impact on these people. And, any kind of social workers who are there. They are social workers generally.
Self-help groups.
Yeah, SHG,
Yeah,
SHGs. Yeah. So
SSGs.
yeah, these things do help. These things. You're right. You're right. So what else? What else can we ask?
We can.
The next question that
Yeah.
Yes,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, so if I may, yeah, the next question I believe can be about the current fertilizer usage they are doing. The brands they're using, the fertilizers they're using that can give us the statistics of
Type of fertilizer usage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The current
Also,
fertilizer.
should we like? I think we should also include the NPK fertilizers that they're using, and then we can also like
Yeah, of course.
probably comparatively
I mean,
study.
yeah, they will tell if they're using the LPK fertilizer, but that won't be a relevant data point for our analysis.
No, for analysis it will not be relevant. But we can
At least give us a holistic conclusion. We can draw.
also
Holistic
requiring data.
holistic data मिल जाएगा ना कि NPK वो कितना कर रहे हैं and ZNBS कौन कौन कर रहे हैं and how many for farmers.
Data anyway, we would
There
like
is
to
actually
be.
a statistic within it.
It should be more
Statistical
holistic.
indicator.
And also, is it
It
just
doesn't
the
matter
word
if
of
you
mouth
use
that
that
plays
data.
the role, or are they actually like going into the benefits and applications? So just from word of mouth from anyone, like this is the best fertilizer you can use, like company workshops or those.
कंपनी वर्कशॉप्स तो करते हैं इम्पैक्ट बट आई बिलीव कि जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स जो रिटेलर्स होते हैं ना वहाँ के वो ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट करते हैं इफ यू गो टू एनी रिटेलर and you
Yeah.
say ki I want this kind of fertilizer, I want this kind of insecticide. If he says that this brand is not doing good and the other person, the other neighbors of his has taken this kind of fertilizer, this brand of fertilizer, he'll be compelled to take that
Yeah,
fertilizer.
So if you're taking a survey for level of awareness, what will be a unit of analysis? Like,
yeah,
will
yeah.
it be farmer and how will we randomize it? Like, let's say in mobile, we have selected 20 villages. Randomly, we'll select like according to the geographical distribution. Then in those villages, we can select farmers, self-help groups,
Retailers.
opinion leaders, retailers. Will they all make a single unit of analysis? Or
Okay, no. So yeah, so when we're talking about the people who are the decision makers of the family, right? So we need to know their opinion on their level of awareness and their opinion on these micronutrient based fertilizers. So how we are dividing these, how we are dividing our measurement of the awareness is that we'll first of all have a person who's not aware at all.
Yeah.
And there will be people who are aware of this, but they don't know how to use. And there will be people who know about it. They know how to use it, but they haven't ever bought it.
or they could not afford.
They don't
Yeah,
have
they could
effort,
not afford.
like being complete.
Right?
Yeah.
And the last one is they basically all the boxes are checked. And I think we'll be asking them questions that basically let them. So have you seen the Google Forms when you enter a certain answer, it leads you to the next page. We will be kind of doing the same thing. So if a person answers no to have you heard it, we won't go to the next question. Exactly. That's basically a data point on our.
That is branch out.
Yeah, yeah, we'll be branching now.
So basically, we can start that. Are you even aware of the existence of this micronutrient fertilizers?
Yeah,
The yes
exactly.
or no question. And then the next question should be that what was your mode of awareness, like social media or public media and all. So that can be the first level of awareness we can
And
talk
if
about.
Maybe word of mouth and through the retailers as well.
and
Yeah,
after getting that information from social media or from word of mouth from the retailer, how frequently did you think about using it, or how frequently did you use it? So these three things.
Also, you need to know about the uses. Like, do they know about the how to use it? It's not just whether you know
The
about
amount required per unit of land.
the amount required and the time or what time you actually
At
put
what
aside.
crop stage
Yeah,
you
what
will
crops
use.
you yes. So
yeah.
these things are necessary.
Okay, moving on to the next question here list में
I think people income in every
economic constraint. I was coming to that. Economic constraint में तो इकोनॉमिक कंस्ट्रेंट में पहले तो हम इनकम करने वाले हैं एनुअल इनकम कितनी है और कैसे करने वाले हैं वी आर what if in the family
इतना कमा लेते हैं
son is also earning and father is earning, the farmer main farmer is
The
earning.
number of sources of income.
yeah
And how much earning from those particular sources of income they have.
and how much farming actually contributes to that.
And how much percentage farming.
That is what I was going to say.
And what is the acreage allocation under specific crops, like the actual cropping pattern of
Okay, correct. तो उसमें ये भी आएगा कि जो सन का इनकम है that will not be impacting the farmers usage of fertilizer or whatever use in the farming. तो सन का इनकम वहाँ पे इम्पैक्ट कभी करेगा कभी कभी नहीं करेगा, so we'll have to keep that in check. इसमें और क्या रख सकते हैं इकोनॉमिक कंस्ट्रेंट?
I think we also need to talk about the scales in which we will measure.
Yeah, exactly. So the scale be very important as in this quantitative scaling, the scale should be at first exhaustive to cover all range of incomes. So I believe we should design the scale based on the secondary data of the village or the taluks we will be actually carrying the research in. According to my knowledge, the scale should be linearly divided between 1 lakh and 10 lakh and the option of below 1 lakh and above 10 lakh.
So
But
do you think it should
defined
be
based on the village we are studying in.
Arco? You're saying basically that we classify this as what do you call categorical data. Yeah, I'm asking you.
Yeah.
No, but I believe
Yeah,
we should classify it as an interval data. Like just get the amount they are actually earning through the. So they will be rounding it out probably, but most likely like we can collect the
But it will also depend on the data analysis that we do.
yeah,
What we want to
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. We should
Yes.
collect income in interval data. And this what do you call level LOA can be in the categorical data, nominal or ordinal data, ordinal type.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the LOA level of measurement we'll be using. Apart from that, yeah, the scales, I guess we will be using the Likert scale, Likert, kind of like a Likert scale, but at the same time, we are using what do you call yes or no based questions to gauge the awareness. right? So I don't
Yeah.
think there will be exactly like a scale for it. Yeah, so any other questions that come to mind when you're talking about these economic constraints or anything of that sort? You can think about it for a minute, I guess. If you're not able to come up with anything, you can move on to the next part.
Yeah.
We have discussed the variables majorly. I mean, the thing is, we won't be exactly doing regression analysis on this because
We've gauged income, but we haven't gauged assets.
assets happen.
Like if the farmer owns tractor, car,
Oh, access to agri input.
agri inputs, as well as the household goods.
एक्सेस पे ही तो हमने वो ले लिया था ना प्रॉक्सी अपना इनकम हमारा
Income,
उसी का
हाँ,
proxy है।
Income can be.
proxy है.
हाँ,
But income is a
But won't be
खर्चा थोड़ा
inputs
कमा
like
रहे some थोड़े
pump
खर्चा.
sets will be required for this one because
अच्छा,
it is
yeah,
heavily
water.
irrigated.
एग्री टूल्स
Yeah.
it will be required now for rice cultivation.
एसेट्स भी हमें एसेट्स पे हमें देखने पड़ेंगे।
I think you should cover that.
But I think it should be directly related to the amount of acreage that we have. It goes under rice cultivation.
I mean, we can.
It doesn't necessarily mean they would have culture. Sometimes it is shared among different farms.
How? Sometimes it's shared concept. Also, a pump set can give you a limit like this much area can be covered through
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
So even if farmer has less land, he has the option to share as well as
Yes,
like bigger
farmers
farmers
do
also
that
will have one
usually.
outside and the small farmers will also have one.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to capture the
I mean, that
access of
also
these.
makes sense for some additional income they can render it to other farmers.
True. That's true. That's true.
ठीक है लेवल ऑफ अवेयरनेस
Also,
में
yeah.
हाँ यस सर
Yeah. Yeah. So level of awareness I was also adding. So we have discussed the level of awareness about existence, the benefits and the usage, and also there should be a level of awareness about where to procure the fertilizer from. Because as Amit had mentioned earlier, that the retailers play a huge role. So if our subject farmer is actually aware of which retailer to procure this micronutrient brands from, so that can also add to another tier of its awareness.
So right, like as Arku said that the level of awareness, like the procurement location helps in understanding the awareness. We can also think about that is are the micronutrients we are targeting like zinc, boron, and sulfur are there fertilizers based on those micronutrients really available in that local village?
accessibility
And accessibility of those, and how far do the villagers have to travel in order to get those
Cost.
micronutrients? The
there
cost,
is one more thing
Transaction,
okay
transaction cost.
yeah, the transaction cost that is there, and what are the factors that influence in purchasing those micronutrients that are there.
Yeah.
We can also like discuss about the prices and the frequency that
But
that they-
these things are very qualitative. I would
yeah,
say.
these are qualitative.
Assets also like this will make
Asset
it too,
qualitative
too
है.
complex and like
Yeah.
we can't.
We can
But
always
it's-
keep them. We can always record them and report
for
them
the
as
understanding purpose,
Yeah.
like
For
some
under-
factors may not directly help us in our analysis, but we can
कुछ additional questions को हम साथ में रख सकते हैं
40% data that we'll collect is
Our basic understanding is to gauge the actual environment of that.
एक्चुअल यूसेज तो उसमें हम कुछ एडिशनल क्वेश्चन पे रख सकते हैं एक हमारा मेन क्वेश्चन है 10-15 क्वेश्चंस का होगा राइट जिसमें कि हम डेमोग्राफी लेंगे जिसमें हम फर्टिलाइजर यूसेज पैटर्न देखेंगे जिसमें हम लेवल ऑफ अवेयरनेस देखेंगे लेकिन एक एडिशनल क्वेश्चन जस्ट फॉर द जनरल परसेप्शन ऑफ द फार्मर और हमारे इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए वो हम रख सकते हैं ये सारे हम जनरल क्वेश्चंस पे रखेंगे एक एक्स्ट्रा क्वेश्चन यार हम आपके साथ में रख सकते
Of course, these can also act as controls in our studies. I mean,
हैं अगर यूज करना होगा तो करेंगे
हाँ.
अदरवाइज इफ यू डोंट वांट टू
Oh, anyway,
and some additional questions will also help us in building connect with the
Connect-
with the
connect-
also the overall idea for us
Overall
is to
idea, yeah.
learn from them.
Learn.
It's not
तो एक चीज तो ये होगी कि उनसे रैपो बिल्ड करना है एक चीज फार्मर्स के साथ ये रहेगा कि
नहीं, you finish at your point, then we can move on to the how we'll analyze this and
हाँ तो डेटा एनालिसिस हमारा फर्दर
एक last point बोलना चाहूंगा.
हाँ, Harshad.
So like we are approaching the farmers, we are from an institute, so they might assume कि we would have some information.
हाँ.
So वो अपने doubts लेके भी हमारे पास आ सकते हैं. उसके लिए भी हमको तैयार रहना पड़ेगा.
सही बात है आपको सही
जितना एग्री रिसर्च हमारे पास
part of doing research is हम लोग भी थोड़ा awareness.
Yeah, I mean, I think we also
The communication
we
is
also-
going to be both ways.
we also included this in our objectives of the study that by the end of this semester we can somewhat influence their minds to actually go with these
एक पॉइंट और है हमारा डेटा कलेक्शन में ही हमने उसको आई थिंक वी मिस्ड इट आउट हमारा prejudice का, हमारा bias का, if you are going into the village, we are going with a certain bias, right? और वो जब
Yes.
questions, because we are going to collect the data, we are going to monitor everything, every answer or response that they are giving. तो हमारा थोड़ा bias रहेगा. If they are saying कि बहुत ज्यादा है awareness, तो बहुत ज्यादा है तो can we write it as very much, very high?
That's
Awareness
why
will
we
be
are
very high.
क्वांटिफाई दैट कि ज्यादा
हाँ,
है
we are not
Right,
quantifying.
तो हमेशा प्रॉब्लम
Huh, so that's why we are basically breaking it down for that, right? That's why we are like we are constraining those questions, like branching them out.
easier to difficult questions I would say
हाँ,
easier to difficult
yeah.
questions.
है या नहीं? Yes or no?
सुना है कि नहीं सुना?
Right.
जानते हो क्या बेनिफिट होता है कि नहीं होता?
Right.
अगर हाँ तो फिर
इस्तेमाल,
बताओ आप।
हाँ,
If
इस्तेमाल
yes,
करना
if
जानते
yes, then if
हाँ,
yes,
of
then
course, if yes then if yes
if
then.
no, then no, we can move
खत्म.
on to
अगर इस्तेमाल करना जानते हो नहीं जानते बस खत्म
हाँ,
बन
हाँ,
उसके आगे वो लाइन ऑफ क्वेश्चनिंग नहीं हम करेंगे.
तो हमारा मेन दो वेरिएबल रहेगा, उसी वेरिएबल के अराउंड हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं और उसी पे क्वेश्चन है हम बिल्ड करेंगे, कुछ एडिशनल क्वेश्चंस. नेक्स्ट पार्ट
Data
है
analysis.
data
So data
analysis.
analysis is the monster that we need to deal with, the elephant in the room. So again, we have two different variables. One is one is ordinal, one is interval. Interval वाले variables के साथ हम regression analysis कर सकते थे, but because there is an ordinal variable in this mix, we cannot exactly we cannot exactly explain the entirety of usage adoption basically with a regression based
Structure equation
हाँ exactly SEM yes but yeah so we will not exactly be able to use regression analysis for both the variables. We might be able to use it for one variable. We might be able to explain some variation in the model with just one variable. So that's my opinion. And apart from that, with the ordinal variable, we can conduct some, some hypothesis testing as to whether or not it is affecting. So we can
hypothesis रखेंगे हम.
so not exactly hypothesis. Yeah, hypothesis.
क्या होगा कौन सा?
The main hypothesis would be that whether there is significant difference between different levels of awareness and adoption of fertilizers, micronutrient based fertilizer. If again,
तो
basically chi-square.
तो हम अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेके क्या चल रहे हैं दैट दे हैव द अवेयरनेस
Of course, the null hypothesis always has to be there is no significant, there is no statistically significant difference.
Right.
Null hypothesis is always that. But our alternate hypothesis will be that there
There's a
is some
difference.
difference.
significant.
There are at least one, category that is statistically significant. So that will be, that is my take on this. And you guys can.
Okay, we have built the hypothesis.
Of course,
We can
we-
both now for interval data we can do regression for the second root.
That's what I said. That's what I
But
said.
if we are able to do structure SEM then we can solve it. Anyway, it's not that.
उस थोड़ा सा था. Slightly better.
ठीक है.
तो apart from this, we'll also be conducting some descriptive statistics. What software do you think we'll use? I mean, and all for SPSS, we can get the package from the college itself.
वो तो है. We have 6 months.
Yeah. Oh.
Also,
So shall we go on to the another topic or we can discuss something more in it? Data analysis.
I mean, data analysis में और कुछ है?
That will be more clear after we get the data and some things will be clearer after that.
We do need to think of something. We cannot exactly just move in a random direction. I think one thing we are missing is sampling. Sampling we didn't discuss through all this, which we should have discussed before the methods and all. Sampling
बता सकता है if you have something.
So sampling, what kind of sampling do you think we should go for? Random sampling or stratified sampling? Because we will have some data about the land holding side.
I suppose we should go for stratified, classified,
Stratified
But
random.
how will we divide into different strata? Like what will we
Land holding cells.
land holding
Land
size?
holding cells.
only land holding
But there are different
नहीं
parameters.
तो land holding हो गया.
हाँ नहीं है ना.
Multiple parameter for differentiating small marginal big farmers is landholding.
Is land holding.
Land holding.
That's the thing.
ठीक है.
But
ठीक है वो तो आप
that will
income के लिए कर
affect the
सकते
income ना.
हो. हाँ
Income तो हमें
The
पता
actual
नहीं.
parameter used is landholding.
The parameter is land holding. Income is something that is very a person with a large land holding size can have varying levels of income.
सैम्पलिंग के लिए एक तो हम लैंड होल्डिंग यूज करेंगे, दूसरा क्या यूज करने वाले हैं?
Why
बिकॉज
we-
आई वाज थिंकिंग कि एक तो लैंड होल्डिंग हो गया, फार्मर्स को हमने लैंड होल्डिंग के बेसिस पे डिवाइड कर दिया. एक हो गया Uh, proximity from the main area, main center area, जहाँ से वो procurement कर सकते हैं, input centers कह सकते हो, या फिर proximity from the area जहाँ से वो information ये सारी gain कर सकते हैं.
At this,
अगर दूर है, suppose a farmer is living far away from the main center or main market, बाजार जिसको कहते हैं, तो वहां से अगर ज्यादा दूर है, 5-10 किलोमीटर दूर है, उसको आने में ज्यादा टाइम लग रहा है, he will not be visiting frequently, तो उसके पास अब level of awareness कम होगा.
10 kilometers is
But
more or less.
that
I agree on
that is true for all the farmers from that area.
हाँ,
तो स्ट्रेटिफाइड के लिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि एक फार हो गया, एक नियर बाय फार्मर हो गया, उसकी लेवल ऑफ अवेयरनेस कम होगी, जो दूर है उसका लेवल ऑफ अवेयरनेस ज्यादा भी. तो
See, try to understand if a
So
farming
basically,
community is
what
living in a
एक second, one
location.
second.
हाँ,
Amit is just.
So if something is far, it is far for everyone.
okay, okay,
The transaction cost, the traveling cost is equal for everyone.
right, right.
So that does not create a difference.
That does not create much of a
I think
difference.
village is a very small area. It's not a big area.
And-
if we can randomly select villages, then it shouldn't be a problem. But it will be difference between one village to the other.
And-
And stratified,
what
we
I
can
was
use the first
Yeah.
first level as the village.
So Abhishek, one more thing.
सैम्पलिंग के लिए ही. हाँ, वो
हाँ, नहीं, you're right.
हमें
There-
स्कोप बोल रहा था बेसिकली मैं.
हाँ, I got it. But one thing we're not considering is that in villages, word of mouth is very, very, very common. Word of mouth is a very huge.
What if there are less people in villages?
Yes,
In some villages there are.
but we
In
are
some
going to
villages there are.
villages which has a English.
अच्छा, चल रहा.
So in this case, I'm just talking about this case. I guess generally, I guess you got right. There might be an option of classifying people on the basis of like how far they are from
Adjacency.
the main center of information. And in this case, I don't think that will be as necessary.
How many villages are we visiting? By the way, only one.
Because I guess status we'll just do stratified random mainly based on the
if you're visiting one village, then we can't do that.
No, we can't do much. My plan was to visit multiple villages, like 4-5 villages, and then we can use hub and spoke.
4-5, we should at least visit 8-10 villages.
Exactly. Better large sample and better data collection.
just have 10 days.
And
so even in one village, I think the geographic stratification would have worked if it was basically in mountains, so there was some inaccessibility. Yeah.
Ah,
But in
true.
plain areas which we are visiting, I think everyone will have equal opportunity space. So I think
That's very different.
geographic
the
stratification.
effect is not from that one.
Yeah.
कोई नहीं.
Another factor that I am thinking of that we can also split by using age, as it is proved that younger farmers are more progressive farmers.
That is.
But I think here the landholding can be used as the sole
Age,
stratification
right,
factor.
We can look into age.
Use age.
Just a second. Age is a good thing.
Demography में वो
So okay, I think now we can move on to the final part
Final
of this discussion.
conclusion of the discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
As
Okay.
a possible outcomes,
We'll
what
start
we
with-
might, what are we expecting out of this study?
Arko,
What
we should
results?
start. What are we expecting from?
What results we
Yes,
might
sir.
end up with? Yeah.
Yeah, so that we already have a notion from the existing study. That income as a factor of income, when it is high, it is difficult for the adoption of that particular crop. So we have an expectation that a higher income will lead to a higher acceptance of these products. Also, in higher average, maybe require increased adoption of the product. Also, as Amit had earlier mentioned about increasing awareness. So one of the objectives is increasing the awareness. So if someone is at the level 2 of the awareness level, we could actually tell him the number of frequency of using the micronutrient or the platform bed. He can procure the micronutrient so that we can increase his level of awareness. So these can be some of the objectives that I can see at this point.
We can always elevate this. Yeah, that is one. So even as a now talking as a student of agribusiness management, right? So I think, as I mentioned earlier, we can really reduce this study, if done properly by us, can really reduce the cost of acquisition for the companies. Maybe our study will be more on a micro level, but if the study is done on a more macro level, it can actually lead to the reduction of the acquisition cost of the companies. They can actually acquire these farmers, like those who are maybe on a higher LOA, like Arthur just mentioned. A higher LOA. So let's say a second level of LOA, where they know the benefits,
But they know.
but they don't know where to procure it from. So such farmers, these companies can target. and actually gain sales in a very lesser cost. And of course, revenue to high, revenue implication to high. We are leading to a case where there is more awareness, which would cost more sales. Regulation process, I think, very important, which we need to take care of on the outcomes.
So I have a similar tip also. Like as a student, for me, learning is very important. Like on similar lines. Also, I believe like understanding behavior is very important. Like we can jot down all the marketing concepts, but at the end of the day, when you go to the ground, you need to understand how people really think, and you'll find very nuanced thing probably when talking to
Consumer taste and
consumer preference, everything. So that will be like very helpful for us.
Correct.
And in the meanwhile, if we can probably establish something concrete based on our study on it. So,
true.
Okay.
What is this?
That's right.
So my take will be possible outcomes तो हमने एक कंपनी के पर्सपेक्टिव से हो गया मेरा ये है कि if we are going to the villages it should be two-way outcome or two-way learning for us and learning for them
True.
अगर हम जा रहे हैं तो we need to make them aware in our own way कि ऐसा भी कुछ है even if they didn't know कि ऐसा जिन गोरों जैसा कुछ होता था if they know
the next day they'll start talking about it.
they start talking about it a perception will be built and that is how the actions are taken right
ये चीजें याद रहेंगी.
exactly ये चीजें उनको याद रहेंगी some people came so two-way learning वाला process रखना है वो हमारा generally conversation किया
Let's wrap up. Amit, do you have
let's
any?
let's
हाँ,
wrap.
तो
You have anything?
कुछ साल पहले मैंने भी सर्वे किया है ड्यूरिंग माय अंडरग्रेड दिस टाइम इट इज डिफरेंट क्योंकि क्वेश्चनर हम खुद तैयार कर रहे हैं हमको बहुत डीप डेप्थ का अंडरस्टैंडिंग है
Right.
सो लर्निंग बेसिकली पूरे होने वाले जैसे विषय ने कहा पॉसिबल आउटकम्स भी आएंगे हमें ये भी देखने को मिलेगा कि क्या प्रोग्रेसिव फार्मर्स ज्यादा बढ़ रहे हैं या नहीं बढ़ रहे
True. So let me just also add something like that. I also had a village option during my finally in my undergrad. I went to this. I went to quite a few villages in Haryana, near Hisar. Yeah, like these experiences do help you understand what the actual ground scenario is. My project was majorly in adoption of milk processing plants. It was from India. But yeah, I think this will be an amazing experience for all
Addition
of
to
us.
it.
Yeah, an amazing value add.
Value addition for all
Yeah.
so let's wrap up
Yeah, let's have
Rush up. I think
No, I think everyone has concluded it very well. So,
Thank you.